Your Steve Jones Show podcast will start shortly. The Steve Jones Show podcast is sponsored by Brewers Outlet, your beverage supermarket on Reagan Street in Sunbury. Sports talk where your voice counts. This is the Steve Jones Show on News Radio 1070 WKOK. Now from the Sunbury Motors Studio, here's Steve Jones.
Good afternoon to you. It is the Steve Jones Show. It's Friday afternoon. Chad Hirschberger sitting in at the producer chair for Steve. Not for Steve. It's Friday. I'm sitting in for Matt Catrillo today. Matt's taking a long weekend. Steve will be with us shortly from the Sunbury Motors studio. Sunbury Motors, North 4th Street in Sunbury, and Sunbury Motors Kia on routes 11 and 15 in Shamokin Dam. And we will bring you up to date on all the sports news, the Masters going on today, and we'll have an update from that. And I was interested, perusing some things here before the show. I was interested in this headline that I saw about Tiger Woods. Tiger Woods thought he was in Florida after that car crash he was in, where police yesterday said that he was speeding before that happened. So when he came to, he thought he was in Florida. So I didn't read the article, but that was one of the top headlines that I saw this afternoon. You're listening to News Radio 1070 WKOK, and if you like the Phillies, there is something that you need to check out. You have heard about it here. We had a guest on. The Greg Murphy was on the show before, but don't forget that we have the podcast Glove Stories with Murph, with Phillies sports journalist Greg Murphy. And this week it's episode 2, and he's got a bunch of great people to talk to this week. You'll hear from Mickey Morandini talking about the 1993 Phils. He'll have some memories with Larry Boa from 1980. And he'll talk to Ben Davis on the current team, the 2021 Phils. So make sure that you check out the Glove Stories with Murph podcast. It's on YouTube. You can download it from your Apple Podcasts, just like you can do with this show. Google Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. So make sure that you check that out. Glove Stories with Murph, something new here from SBC Media Partners, and we're glad to be doing that in partnership with sports journalist Greg Murphy from Philly. So check that out. And coming up today on the show, we've got the King. The King will be with us to do some sports trivia, so make sure that you stick around for that. And I'm not sure if we have other guests or not. As I said, when you fill in, you aren't always told everything that's coming up. So I do know that the King's coming up, and we'll have sports trivia with the King at 4:30, after the 4:30 news and break coming up in the last half hour of the show. Let's see here if we can get some Masters. It's round 2 of the Masters going on right now. It looks like we've got in the lead as the computer decides to refresh. Let's check out to see who is in the lead. And it's not refreshing for me. But we will get that here for you. The Seahawks re-signed Randall, their player. Yeah, they're moving him to cornerback. 7 under par is the current leader at the Masters at Augusta in Georgia. And waiting here again to refresh. It's Friday. We're all kind of moving slowly, especially if you know your weekend is coming up here momentarily. Yeah, this isn't helping me here. All right. So as we said, Steve Jones will be joining us from the Sunbury Motors studio. in just a few moments. Some other sports news today. This was a news story that broke this morning, but tied into sports as well. You might have heard that Prince Philip, Queen Elizabeth's husband, died. And he had some connections to UK sports as well. And they're paying tribute to him today as well. Of course, him being a national figure in the UK. The Football League over there, the English Football Association, which again is soccer, paid tribute to Prince Philip. And they said that if teams in England want to play this weekend, they can, but they are able to use that as their discretion after the death of Prince Philip. So that's kind of interesting. Several players like Liverpool legend Sir Kenny Dalglish had posted some tributes online today too. So even though it was a more news story, it did also jump in here, and we have some sports reaction to that news from today as well. So I think we'll take our first break, and we'll be back after this, and hopefully Steve will be with us then. You're listening to The Steve Jones Show right here on News Radio 1070 WKOK. It's a Friday, so it is also brought to you by Brewers Outlet, and we'll be talking about that and them too. Get those pickles ready. When it comes to hopefully that gets you in the mood for the weekend. It is Friday. You're listening to The Steve Jones Show here on News Radio 1070 WKOK. Glad to have you along on the show today. And a reminder that if you like Phillies baseball, we've got Phillies action coming up this weekend. They're going to be taking on the Braves this weekend, and it starts tonight. Their 3-game series, 6:45. You can catch the Phillies on our sister station Eagle 107. They play tomorrow night again at 6:45 against the Braves, and then again on Sunday, 6:30. Again, down there in Georgia at Atlanta. They'll be playing the Braves, and then next week they got a 4-game series with the Mets. They'll be up in New York, and then they go to St. Louis. Actually, St. Louis comes to Philly next weekend for 3 games next weekend. So they got a busy week coming up. And again, your home for the Phillies is our sister station, Eagle 107. Let's check in with the NFL and get some NFL Network news right now.
I'm James Palmer with NFL Network Now on the Westwood One Radio Network. Like his play on the field, Patrick Mahomes is apparently an all-pro at injury recovery as well. The Chiefs quarterback attended the Masters golf tournament Thursday without the walking boot he's been wearing since having foot surgery February 10th. The Chiefs believe Mahomes will be able to practice by mid-May. Mahomes nearly had another Pro Bowl target to throw to. Steelers wide receiver Juju Smith-Schuster said he nearly signed with Kansas City in March before deciding to re-up with Pittsburgh. Like Mahomes, Trevor Lawrence is also on the mend. NFL Network insider Ian Rappaport reports the projected first overall pick is already throwing again after undergoing left shoulder surgery in February. And Chargers head coach Brandon Staley said Thursday that left tackle is a position of need for his football team, and they'll definitely target that in the draft. This has been NFL Network Now on the Westwood One Radio Network.
My apologies to everybody for being a tad late. Sometimes there's circumstances beyond your control, like other vehicles, and what they do, which then causes you to detour. So I apologize for that, and I put that all on you, and that's all on me. But well, it's not all on me, but it's one of those you're like, really? So we had to take a different route to get here. So we apologize for that. Today's show brought to you by Brewers Outlet, Reagan Street in Sunbury, the beverage supermarket, imports domestics microbrews, best selection of beer anywhere. Wine coolers, water, soft drinks, snacks. They roast their peanuts fresh and hot every day. And the pickle bar, led by the barrels and the dills, indeed second to none. All at Brewers Outlet, Reagan Street in Sunbury, the beverage supermarket. And we are in the Sunbury Motors studio. Sunbury Motors, 4th Street in Sunbury. Sunbury Motors Kia, routes 11 and 15, Hummel's Wharf. Online at sunburymotors.com. Ford, Lincoln, Kia, Hyundai. Great new inventory. Fabulous pre-owned inventory. All at Sunbury Motors, 4th Street in Sunbury. Sunbury Motors Kia, routes 11, 15, Hummel's Wharf. Online at sunburymotors.com. Let's get to the Masters and start there, where Justin Rose fell back a bit and then regained position. And Bryson DeChambeau is now in the hunt, as is Justin Thomas. So Rose, at 7 under par, fell back to 4 under at one point today. And then, to his credit, like he did yesterday, once he got to the back 9, he steadied himself, because on the front 9, he had 4 bogeys and a birdie. He went out 39. You're like, eee. So he's 4 under. Now, he gets to 13. A 13 for a pro at Augusta National is a birdie hole. He knocks it in there, gets a birdie, 2-putt birdie, fine. But then the bonus was he birdied 14. It was not an easy putt, and he birdied it. And then he parred 15, which normally for a pro is going to end up being a birdie hole, but he parred it. And then he birdied the par 3 16th, then par, and he finished and went out in 33, shot an even par 72, stays at 7 under par with a 2-shot lead over Mark Leishman, who normally plays well in big events. And now for the name that you should sit back and go, uh-huh. There are 2 names that give you the uh-huh feeling. And they're the 2 buddies, Justin Thomas and Jordan Spieth. Thomas is at 5 under par. He is 6 under for the day. He began the day at 1 over. He's 5 under. He is 2 shots back, playing 17. Spieth shot a 1 under 71 to start. He is 3 under for the day, playing 17. He's 4 under for the tournament. 4 under. Patrick Reed's at 3 under. So far, Hideki Matsuyama's at 2 under par. Xander Schauffele's 1 under. Bryson DeChambeau is a big story today. Yesterday, it was like, he shot 76, 4 over par. And he gets himself to 5 over when he bogeyed 5. And then things started to happen. He birdied 6. He birdied 8. He birdied 9. Then he bogeyed 10, but then he birdied 13. He birdied 15. He birdied 17. And guess what? He is now 4 under for the day, and he's back to even on the championship. He's only 7 shots back in this. So he is in that neighborhood. Cut is at 3 over, and Phil Mickelson, to his credit, rallied and got himself to the cut line. He, at one point, was in deep trouble. He was at 5 over at one point. Then he birdied 8. Then he went back to 5 over 9. Then he birdied 13 and 15, the 2 par 5s, and he got himself to an even par round, and he will make the weekend. And that's how it's playing out at Augusta National right now. How about the Mets yesterday and how the Mets won? We touched on this briefly yesterday. I give the umpire, the home plate umpire, credit because he did come out and say later after the game, it doesn't do the Marlins any good. He says, I made the wrong call. I made the wrong call. I should have called it a strike. Was Mike Conforto hit by the pitcher? Michael Conforto. I met him when he was a little kid, so it's like, so I apologize. He wants to be known as Michael. Michael Conforto. Michael Conforto leans out over the plate, not like dramatically, but he leans out just enough, and you can hear on pure sound that, yes, his elbow guard does get hit. So you hear click, elbow guard hit, mitt. So you hear the 2 sounds. So yeah, he got hit by the pitch. But he got hit by a strike. So when that happens, the call is it's a strike. It is not reviewable as to whether or not the pitch is a strike. That's the part that's not reviewable. The only part that's reviewable is whether he got hit. Well, he did. That's the only part that is reviewable. So he said, I should have called it a strike live. If he had called it a strike live, replay would not have mattered. But the Mets won the game. Now, remember, McNeil hit a home run to tie that game up. Today, the Yankees are playing Tampa Bay. It's scoreless in the middle of the second. Here's a significant slice for you. Aaron Judge is not in the lineup again today. Aaron Judge has missed so many games in his career. And here we are at Game 7. He's not in the lineup. Frazier's in right field today. What's interesting about Judge is that he's been, he got into this late. He's not a free agent until he's 31. And I don't know what his value is going to be when that finally happens. But Aaron Judge is out of the lineup again today. When he's in there, he's dynamic. When he's out of there, he's like Chad Hirschberger. That wasn't the comparison you were looking for?
No.
I just compared you to Aaron Judge. I mean, you could brag to all your friends.
I will.
By the way, when Tiger Woods was in the hospital after his crash, do you know what he told authorities?
He thought he was in Florida.
He thought he was in Florida. Wow.
Taking your calls at 800-795-9565. This is the Steve Jones Show on News Radio 1070 WKOK. Now, from the Sunbury Motors Studio, here's Steve Jones.
Today's show brought to you by Brewers Outlet, Reagan Street in Sunbury, the beverage supermarket, imports, domestics, microbrews, best selection of beer anywhere. Wine coolers, waters, soft drinks, snacks. They roast their peanuts fresh and hot every day. And the pickle bar, led by the barrels and the dills. Indeed, second to none. And yes, with the warmer weather, might we remind you of not one, but 6 great flavors of slushies. All at Brewers Outlet, Reagan Street in Sunbury, the beverage supermarket. And we're in the Sunbury Motors studio. Sunbury Motors, 4th Street in Sunbury. Sunbury Motors, Kia, routes 11 and 15, Hummel's Wharf. Online at sunburymotors.com. All right. Great time, by the way, to go to the lot. The weather's been so nice. A little cooler today. A friend of mine was telling me today it's like 75 in Pittsburgh today.
Really?
That's not the story here.
No, as a matter of fact, I think it got cooler as the day wore on. When I was out this morning, it felt warmer than when I was getting ready to come down here. So,
yeah. Well, what happens is we're getting with this storm more of an eastern flow, and that's why we're getting cooler weather. I mean, I don't want to sound like I'm a meteorologist. I mean, I barely play a sportscaster on the radio. But that's my understanding of it. Okay. Let's give you a slice of good news and update a story. Chad, you remember during the during the Elite Eight, Gonzaga was playing USC, and in the first half, a referee collapsed.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Name is Bert Smith. Bert Smith's done a couple of Penn State games in his career. He's a really good official. Well, when it happened, they thought, oh, my goodness, did he trip over somebody? No. And you watch the replay, and he just went down. They got to him right away. The Gonzaga bench was there for him right away. The medical personnel, other staffers rushed toward him. Players on both teams returned to their benches. It turned out that Bert Smith had a blood clot in his lung.
Wow.
And he said the fall actually might have saved his life. He regained consciousness while on the floor, as you may recall. He was alert, and he was carried off the floor in a stretcher. Arms were folded, looking around, so he was awake, alert. Medical personnel at Lucas Oil Stadium treated Smith, who later went to a local hospital. That's where he learned that his scary fall was related to a blood clot in his lung. You don't know where that clot was going next, Smith told Greg Doyle of the Indianapolis Star. He was in the hospital 2 days. It puts in perspective the value of each day because we all go through our lives. We're all guilty of it. We just live, right?
Mm-hmm.
But we do say, but do we say I love you enough? You don't have to here, okay, Chad? All right. No need. Okay. Do we give an extra hug enough? Again, distance makes a difference here, Chad. Do we do the things with our family and friends that have value to them? Do we stop putting down people like the suit? No, it's not in here. When you live something like I did, it hits you square in the eyes that you really have to value each day, which is so true. A replacement official was added to the crew after Smith collapsed. After the game, Mark Few said he walked over to Smith to offer his support as he was being placed on a stretcher. He's a great official, a great person, and really, Bert Smith is a fabulous official. I mean, I was shocked and scared for him, but I was able to stick my head in there a little bit and see he was talking incoherent and tried to say a quick prayer for him and just wished him the best. Well, again, blood clot lung, and now he's doing fine. You know, obviously they'll give him thinners and so forth. For my brother's going to be on in the final half hour of the show, as you know.
Yes.
That was my brother had that problem for a long time. It wasn't a blood clot in the lung, it was in his leg. And we're talking for years. This was for years. And this was Kevin being, as usual, a good Samaritan. It was a snowstorm. A guy had slid off the road and was stuck. So Kevin, in the snow, it's snowing. So it's, this is one of those, hey, it snows over, it's nice and clear, and you're helping somebody out. Kevin pulled over in the storm and actually helped push the guy out of the ditch. But in doing so, his foot slipped. Natural, it's in the snow, and his knee cracked a rock. And in doing so, obviously, he hurt his knee, but he also developed a blood clot in his leg. And it took forever to get rid of it. You should have seen the swelling in my brother's leg when he had this. I mean, blood clots are so, I know now that anytime you go to the hospital, it's one of the things they worry about right away all the time with anything, any kind of surgery. First 24 hours, they're talking about where your legs need to be and so forth. They're trying to prevent any possibility of blood clots. I mean, who knows, when it gets loose, who knows where it can go. And Bert Smith was fortunate, and they did a great job of treating him on the spot. They did a great job of treating him in Lucas Oil Stadium, and they obviously did a great job in the hospital he went to in Indianapolis. But
I realize this was during the tournament, but is it standard procedure to have a backup official on standby when something like this happens?
Always. There's always a fourth official that is sitting at the table during the NCAA tournament for that specific reason. If something happens, a guy turns an ankle, doesn't feel well, something. But in the NCAA tournament, they always have a fourth official that's actually sitting at the table on the sideline. Now, what they did was they brought that official in, and then what they did, because everybody was in proximity to one another, because of the way the tournament was played, they then brought another official over to the table to replace the one that had to go on the floor. But every NCAA tournament game, Chad, always has a fourth official that is sitting at the table. Same story in the Big Ten tournament. In the Big Ten tournament, there's always a fourth official that is sitting at the table. So it's a good question. Glad I was able to answer it. So that's how that works. All right, so let's see here. Anybody doing anything here? Thomas 5 under par. Spieth's now at 5 under. Ooh, Tony Finau's at 5 under. Leishman's finished at 5 under. So Thomas, Finau, and Spieth are all playing 18, all at 5 under par. 2 shots back of Justin Rose. The intrigue, and those are the only guys at 5 under. Spieth, Finau, Thomas, and Leishman's done. They're all at 5 under. Everybody else is 4 under in terms of the pack that's chasing. And DeChambeau ended up shooting 67 today. He finished at 1 under par. He is 6 shots back. This is a guy who stood on the 6th tee at 5 over par. And he gained back 6 shots. He made 7 birdies and 1 bogey the rest of the way. Not bad. Not bad at all. Good for him. He's something. I mean, he hits the ball the way you do, Chad. It's unreal to see the two of you out there together.
Does he hit it into the windmill like I do?
Let me put it this way: if DeChambeau hits the windmill, okay, he obliterates the windmill. I don't know how long he can do this, because when you watch him, his swing is so violent. I mean, and when I mean violent, like the torque. Yeah, I haven't seen anything like that to me. Have you ever gone out and golf with Mark Lawrence? Same thing. Right? The torque is unbelievable. I'm trying to think the hardest swinger I ever saw in person. I mean, besides a pro. Obviously, the pros. I'm trying to think of guys I've played golf with that have just huge swings. Like, I mean, really fast. The old Lady Lion play-by-play announcer Jerry Fisher, Fran's son, he could hit the ball a country mile. I always thought that when he turned 50, he would try to get his Champions card. I really did. I thought he would. He never did. But I mean, he was really that good. That good. So, yeah. But I mean, I don't know how long he can do this, because remember, Tiger Woods has had a series of back. Woods has now had 5 back surgeries total, and you watch the way Tiger Woods during the prime of his career, how he swung, and I mean, I'm talking a torque he put in it, like, and the ball would bang off the club, and the finish was so violent. That now you watch, now obviously we can't watch Tiger play right now, but when Tiger won the Masters in 2019, which was remarkable, and you watch him win the Tour Championship in Atlanta before that, what really struck me was the fluidity of his swing, especially with irons. Incredibly fluid with his irons. This is where, for DeChambeau, I mean, I know he's all bulked up, but boy, you watch that routine he does on the practice tee. Grab ball, put down, swing. Grab ball, put down, swing. Grab ball, put down, swing. Right? And it's like, I mean, and the torque with which his body goes through during that workout. I'm asking myself, how long can somebody do that? I mean, I'm talking years now. How many years can somebody do it like that and not have a back problem? Ever see the suit swing?
I have not, no.
Aren't you fortunate? All right. Now, you know what bothers me about the suit playing golf?
I'm glad you continued that sentence.
You know what bothers me about the suit when he plays golf? About playing golf? He doesn't play enough. I'm being serious now. Mm-hmm. Because he's the kind of guy that when you're out there and you're playing around to golf with him, the front nine, he's a mess. Because he doesn't play. And then on the back nine, he starts hitting a really nice drive. Then he hits another really nice drive. Then he hits another really nice drive. And you sit back, and I keep telling you, if you played a little bit more, he'd be good. To be honest with you, I think he'd be a good player if he played more. I wish he would play more. I wish he would, because he doesn't play enough. The front nine, it's almost comical, and you're like, okay, we have a good time, we kid him around. But then on the back nine, he'll start hitting some drives. And I mean the drives that are in the fairway, good distance, the whole deal. And he does, right? All the way through. Does a great job with it. I've told him once, I've told him a bunch of times, play more. Dick in Milton, the man. How are you, Dick? Great to hear from you, my friend.
I'm good, Steve. I was listening to you coming up the road. I'm not going to hang on. I just wanted to ask you a golf question. I quit playing golf back a lot of years ago. I'm not going through the reason. But anyhow, what I was going to ask you, when you're talking about hitting the ball long, not you personally, would you think that best golfers ever have been able to hit the ball long or hit the ball and always keep it in play in the fairway? You understand the question?
Well, yeah, I know exactly what you mean. You're talking about accuracy versus distance.
That's what I'm asking you. Do you think the all-time great golfers have been hit? Tiger's kind of the exception because he didn't always play with accuracy either. But I guess my question: do you think like Sneeds and the Hogans and the guys that hit the ball forever and the best players in Nicholas or Palmer, do you think it was because they played with accuracy or for distance? I guess that's my question.
Well, Nicholas was both. Nicholas was because Nicholas could. Remember, the golf ball was different. They changed the golf ball in 1996, and Nicholas was a bomber off the tee with that ball, and he was accurate. Arnold Palmer was remarkable because Arnold Palmer had great imagination. He pulled off shots a lot like Seve Ballesteros, where you sit back and go, wow, he saw something I didn't see. Today's game, to be honest with you, I think it's all about distance. And I thought Fred Ridley, the president of Augusta National, made a great point the other day. The USGA and the Royal and Ancient, the R&A, in Great Britain, make the rules of golf. And Ridley was asked, would you ever use a Masters golf ball? In other words, a golf ball that's not going to travel as far. So specifically, everybody has to play with the same ball. And he said, I don't want to get to that, but I also don't want golf courses to be 8,000 yards either.
Well, I guess the reason I'm asking, they've been talking about, what's his name, the DeChambeau.
Yeah,
the guy who hits the ball forever. It's like, could he drive number one green there at the Masters? And I said he probably could, but then maybe they couldn't find the ball either because he doesn't play with a lot of accuracy.
No, he doesn't. But see, that's where. But you know what? He comes in from weird angles because of it. And you want to know why he's gotten to be good? He's always hit it long. Now he's hitting it longer. But he became a really good putter. I mean, he was ranked about 110 to 120 2 years ago. Now he's 12th in putting. That's the part that has everybody freaked out. Oh, great, he's long and now he putts. Great.
Well, they were talking about a kid yesterday, and I don't know where I saw he was like 1 or 2 under par, something 21 or 20-year-old phenom. I never heard of him until yesterday, but he's like third on the tour in accuracy. Like the problem is he can't putt for crap. Well, he can't putt like the rest of them, but he's unbelievable from the tee to the green itself.
That was
he's not very old, 22, 21 maybe.
That was Colin Montgomery. Montgomery.
This guy here. That wasn't his name. I don't remember what his name was because I never had heard of him. But the other thing is, and I'm going to hang up, I want to tell you something interesting. I never heard of anybody doing this. Tiger Woods, to make himself a better golfer, used to go and practice putting on a basketball court.
Really?
Can you imagine that? Yes, because he said he got used to playing fast greens that way. Can you imagine that? I never heard of anybody doing that until this morning.
I never heard of that. That's incredible.
Well, that's what he did because some of these they were talking about how what brought it up is they were talking about how the greens were so fast down here at Augusta right now. I mean, really fast. They said it was like hitting the ball into a pool table.
Yeah.
And then they said, well, Tiger used to practice putting a golf ball on a basketball court. Now, isn't that something?
That is unreal. No,
it makes sense when you think about it. If you put targets out there and took a ball and put it in this practice, you could do that in Bryce Jordan in practice and see how it works out.
It's like putting on a table. It's like putting on a table.
But what I'm saying is, but maybe that was a secret he never told anybody ever told. I just heard it this morning. I just found that incredible.
Yeah, my Colin Montgomery reference was saying that's like Colin Montgomery. Colin Montgomery was accurate off the tee, always accurate going into the green, but he couldn't putt. That was the reference to Colin Montgomery.
Well, the thing about this kid is supposed, or DeChambeau or whatever his name is supposed to be every time he goes to a golf course, he's like almost the favorite because of how far he hits the ball, but he never finishes that way because he's just not very accurate.
Oh, so, I mean, that's why the biggest plus for him. There have been no crowds at these tournaments for a while, so he hasn't hit anybody yet.
But that's it. But it's an interesting concept to me. That's what do you think? Accuracy or distance? I know a lot of guys want distance right now. I understand that.
I think you have to have both, and especially when you're playing in a major, where rough is a factor and the width of fairways is a factor. You've got to be in fairways. That way you can make your shots. To me, that's why distance, awesome, but you need to be accurate with your distance.
Well, I'm going to let you go. I always said the hardest game to play well is golf, in my mind.
Oh, I feel better now.
A lot of people would hit a golf ball, but they never know where it's going.
I feel better now. Because I play it, it's like, some days are like, hey, it's okay. And other days it's a slog.
Anyhow, Steve, well, good. Thanks for talking to you. Bye.
Thanks, Dick. See you. All right, we'll come back with more in a moment. Great to have you with us today. Brought to you by Brewers Outlet on News Radio 1070 WKOK.
Party time, game time, or just fun time. Doesn't matter what time it is because it's Brewers Outlet time. The beverage supermarket has the area's largest beer selection. Imports, microbrews, ciders, and domestics. Pick from over 100 ice-cold 12-packs and dozens of 24-ounce singles. Soda, snacks, hot sauces, fresh roasted peanuts. Make it one-stop party shopping, and don't forget the pickle bar. So whatever you're celebrating or just doing it up, Brewers Outlet, Reagan Street, Sunbury wants to see you. And thank you for your years of patronage.
All right, here we go. Quick note, Rhys Hoskins, who was the Phillies union rep, said this afternoon he isn't sure whether the Phillies will reach the 85% vaccination threshold Major League Baseball has installed for relaxing COVID-19 protocols. He says some players are excited to get the shot and others are not. Hoskins said, as a general statement, believing in what science is saying is usually a pretty safe and logical bet. So when it does become available, he personally, Rhys Hoskins, will be getting it. But it sounds like not every Philly wants to get it. And Major League Baseball, to relax protocols, you have to have an 85% vaccination threshold on the team. And Hoskins isn't sure the Phillies are going to get there. Phillies are off to a really good start, too. Tampa Bay leads the Yankees 2-0, by the way. And again, it's another day where Aaron Judge is not in the lineup. When he's in the lineup, he's dynamic. He spends too much time watching, though. That is a problem. He can't help it. Can't help it. But it is a problem.